Welcome to FACEHAMMER, and in this video we are going to show you all of the finalists from the FACEHAMMER GT 2019 painting competition and tell us why we thought they were really cool. So let's get into the show and talk about these lovely models that were entered into FACEHAMMER GT 2019 painting competition. And we thought we'd record this because one, it shows off lots of nice models, but also we've been talking about FACEHAMMER worldwide, and the competition we're going to run over Discord and on the internet on September, on the 18th, 19th and 20th. And we wanted to show you the kind of thing that that people had entered at the event before, so you get an idea of what we're talking about when we talk about the painting competition.
And I mean, it's one of the things that I always look forward to when we run the event is seeing what people bring. I mean, we do put up quite good prizes for people who enter, so it's always really nice to see what effort people have made to sort of to see if they can win the event. I mean, obviously over the last couple of years we've had a very sort of like a trend with like one person winning it quite a lot, but which we'll get to, I'm sure. But yeah, it's just really nice to see the effort that people have put in. So it's good to recognise that and show it on sort of like the channel now, just so that anyone who's not seen it can check in.
Yeah, they are gorgeous. I've forgotten how high the standard is. It goes without saying as well. Like plenty of these are just the people who came first, second, third, or whatever. Plenty of people do enter, and you don't have to be painting Jesus to be entering our competition. And anyone who entered, like, we're super happy to give them feedback and stuff like that. And likewise, we'll be taking that approach with FACEHAMMER, the digital version. So whatever your goal is, just show us your stuff, and whether it's the first thing you've ever painted or it's your 7,000th model, we're super happy to give you our thoughts on it.
Yeah, and I think the way that this came about is we decided to run a painting competition in the evening over between the games and the event, so people had something to look at in the evening and talking point really, and then we would announce the winners at the end. So we want to basically follow a similar format with FACEHAMMER worldwide, where we'll get all the entrants in the different categories, and on the Discord there'll be different channels for each category where you can post your entries, and what we'll do is we'll cut down to a finalist group that we will then talk about, and then we'll announce the winners on the Sunday. Will be some prize support, but we'll give you more details on that later. But without further ado, let's get into the single miniature category, which is normally the category that's quite fiercely contended for the best in show. So we had some really good entrants last year, and one of the finalists was this really nice Fire Slayer priest. I don't know, it's one of the characters that Les will know more than I will on this, and this is
he's the guy that has the run and charge rune. I don't know.
Exactly.
It's like so many games I played with Fire Slaves, you'd think I'd know the name of the characters, but like, it's just the guy that I would know because of the army lists and playing at like ETC and stuff. It'd be like, this guy has this rune, that guy has that rune. That is
maybe we don't know what he's called, but we know that Ritchie painted it, don't we?
Yeah, and
we know Ritchie McCally.
So I'm showing the other front view on the screen now, so you guys can see the sort of the way that he's painted it. And he's done his Fire Slayers with really dark skin, and this, I really like the fire effect he's got on the beards.
The beards are awesome. Yeah, they're so good.
Yeah. It's a really nice focal point, I think, having the obviously the glowing ember sort of effect by the beard, but the fact that he's tied it in with sort of like the flames coming out the top of the staff and the hair, it just adds, it sort of like draws your eyes to sort of like that center point, which is really nice.
Obviously, we're just I really like model, it, but across an army, the effect of having that much bright poppy stuff is brilliant. If it's on a bright table, it still stands out. If it's on a dark table, even better.
Yeah, he spent an awful lot of time on his army, because this is actually a model from his army. It's not done as a competition piece. But what you can see here is that it's like a really nice base on it as well, where he's got like these nice interesting flowers, where you can see them around here, and you've got these nice tufts and this sort of different textures where you've got like the grey stones, but you've also got these larger slabs to tie in with the base, where he's sort of like staggered that up to give him a bit of height to the model, which I think is quite cool.
It looks good from all angles as well.
Yeah, it looks like a tiny bit of water effect on the bottom of the base as well. I'm not sure if that's Yeah, so that's always good as well. It's the classic, isn't it? Like faces, bases, shields with Warhammer, and the fact that you've got an interesting base. You've got maybe not the face, but the yellow glowing sort of like makes it really stand out, and sort of like ties it together.
I really like what he's done on the back as well, where he's got the glowy runes on the back of the cape, where he's almost done a little bit of like glow on the sort of the fur.
I really like it. I think it's great. It's important to have. I mean, if you're entering something for a competition and for people to judge, if it's a diorama, it's got his back to the wall. Okay, you can just paint the front, but people are going to pick it up and look at it from all angles, and he's not kind of scrimped on any one angle of this model whatsoever.
And we should point out as well that the photos were taken by Matt Avis, who was there covering the event, and
Avis is
a really good quality of the photos. So
he's good quality photographer.
He is of Golden Demon Compendium fame, so we can always link him below if people want to see him. He's upped his game as well in recent years. He's probably one of the most competent photographers of other people's miniatures that I've ever known, actually.
Top bloke as well.
Yes.
But yeah, I quite like Rich's thing. I like the OSL on the back, like you said, Russ. It looks really nice. I think he's chosen quite a nice colour palette. It's as somebody who's colourblind, it's always nice to see like people's choices. As long as it's not too much red and green next to each other, I can usually tell it apart. But that it looks quite good.
What do you think, Terry?
Yeah, no, I was just looking on the back of the model. So the one thing that I want to pick out, like, is great paint job overall, everything, and obviously it's just for a little army project, not actually a competition piece. The one thing I'd say you could do is where the plastic sort of base part of the model connects to like the stone, it's not flush and there's a gap there. So he could just pop a little bit of PVA around that, and it would sort of shrink in and seal that down, so you don't get that gap when you're connecting like a plastic piece to a basing piece. Obviously it's like super picky, but it's, you know, if that's the sort of, thing you want to go competition-y sort of style with it, then you need to make sure that everything's sort of flush and tidy. Again, that's super picky. That is, it's not really even that
we've got to be picky, haven't we? When the standard we had to pick at the little.
Yeah, you're looking for mistakes, not for not for the high end sort of paint job at this point, because they're all they're all good. So you just got to pick on the little bits. But yeah, I like it. It's a solid little piece, especially for an army level model. Like the whole army painted to this level is great.
Mm-hmm. I would, as far as my personal preferences go, like my favorite thing on the model, like the glowing beard is just like baller, absolutely amazing. But the contrast on the blue sections I would have pushed a bit higher, and also the contrast on the base, so a little bit darker in the recesses, a little bit lighter on the raised areas, particularly on the brown slabs.
The brown slab, you could go right up to bone on the corners, on the top edge, just to really give it that sort of nice defined edge.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's almost like, I don't know whether it was intentional to keep the other colours not as bright as the flame areas, so the flame looked brighter. It might be a conscious decision that, because I know you say, like, even like if you look at the sort of the obsidian colour, that you could have pushed that way up further to almost pure white, and the recess is more into black. But then that might detract from the beard, and what I like what he's done here is the beard is the brightest thing on the model, the fire is the brightest thing, so I think it's I don't know, it might be intentional that everything else is slightly muted, but I'm more of a fan of muted colour schemes anyway, so I think it's cool.
Yeah.
So that was from Ritchie of Just Play, so fantastic entry. It's just because I think he wanted the whole army done for the event, but he didn't have it done in time. If I remember correctly, I might be something wrong. Next one is another Duradin of Old World fame, and that's Gotrex, painted by Ben Johnson. So, and this is a really nice piece actually. I'm really.
Oh, it's gorgeous, yeah.
So, just looking at the front view now. So,
cool. It's very classic Ben Johnson, isn't it? Where like he's got that sort of like, you can see that he's kept the same probably highlight in all of the colours. You can see whether it's like pallid witch flesh or rackar flesh is the highlight he's used on the beard, which is obviously, it seems like it's tied into the skin tone as well.
Yeah.
Maybe even the Skaven on the base. You know, one of the things that like really pops for me is, whilst the contrast from the beard is, whilst there's similar warmness with like the orange beard and the skin tone, is that they do stand apart. They don't look like they blend into one. And the tattoo work also is very, very good, I think, on that one. I really like it.
Yeah, I love the beard. I think particularly like the kind of the bit flowing out, like directly under his face, kind of between the braids. There's some gorgeous levels of depth there, and it looks, I don't know if he's used washes, but I think the selection of colours there and the amount that is mid-tone shade and highlight and extreme highlight is pretty much perfect. I really, really like this one. I think it's a super characterful piece.
I think this was one where we were quite sort of like, I can't remember where this finished, but I remember I really liked this. And
it was this and the Nurgle model.
Yeah, and I can remember we had like a lot of discussions about whether or not aesthetically it was like they're both painted to such a high level that it was just down to sort of like what was more pleasing to the person. And then I think it was a split decision, wasn't it, with this one, from what I remember?
Yeah.
It was a while ago now. But
it's a very cohesive piece, this one. I think you look at it, and even if you don't know quite why, and it's probably because of what you've outlined about cohesive colours and stuff like that, it does just look right. And I touched on this with the previous piece, but I think it does a really awesome job of kind of getting brighter and more interesting the higher you get up the model towards the focal point, which is the guy's flesh and his hair and his face and him himself, and maybe the shoulder pad if you're looking at it from the back view, which contrasts really nicely against the dark stuff. But you kind of look at it as a whole, and it's like, oh, that's pretty cool, nice, cohesive. I really like the colours in the wood. There's some green going on and stuff. You get up, and it gets warmer, and then whatever you were looking at the beginning, your eyes kind of finish on the dude from the waist up, which I really, really like.
It's almost like everything else is quite muted, and like you say, you've got like green into the wood, into the recesses, and you've got this this kind of like muted metallic on the black shoulder pad on his back, the lion head, and then the from the waist up, like you say, it's so much more richer that you're immediately kind of drawn up to the head of the model.
For sure.
Which is pretty cool, and it's almost quite interesting how the base is very busy, but he's managed to kind of keep that very muted, so you don't get drawn to like the Skaven in the base too much, but the detail's there when you look at it.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It could be easy to have that distracting, but somehow, even though it's like the busiest base you can ever imagine, it's part of the model.
Because the base is bigger than Gotrex. So.
It sets the scene for the headliner who's on top of it.
I quite like the way that the skin tone of the Skaven, whilst being subtly like different enough from Gotrex, that it's similar enough that it looks like he feels like he should be part of that environment, and it's because of probably the consistent highlight colour that Ben probably, I'm guessing, will have mixed into each of the colours. Because that's the biggest thing. Like sometimes a model doesn't look like it belongs in an environment. I remember when I painted my Harry the Hammer, and I did it. He was like really red, non-metallic metal. And he was on a snow base, and like one of the things that like I think you pointed out to me, Russ, was like it didn't feel like he belonged in that environment.
Yeah, it almost looks like he's been like photoshopped onto a snow scene, you know.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. It's quite hard to do. It's something that you have to be conscious of, I think, when you start painting a model, is especially if you're doing it to like this standard, or even like with regards to like an army painting, you want it to look like it's part of that environment. So like there's no point having like a really crisp clean base and a dirty model, because it won't look like it's part of the environment. And I think the point I'm trying to make is that even though there's a difference in colours with how muted the base is, he still looks like he belongs in that, despite the fact that the skin and the orange pops really well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I like that he's got the tattoos nice and aged as well.
Yeah, they
it's
almost
not
look
just painted
faded.
on like a war paint. It looks more like it's actually old and faded into the skin quite nicely.
You actually they don't like pop out immediately, but then as soon as you look, you do see them, but they, like you say, they're not like super contrasting.
Yeah, they look like they belong in the skin, not on the skin.
Yeah.
For sure.
And then the last entry we had, I'll try and get to the front picture, was this converted Nurgle Lord. by Chris Mills, which
There's a lot of kits in this model.
yeah,
Yeah.
which I think is really cool. I quite like the way that it's so grotesque. The way the belly is like spilling out and around the strapped-on gut plate. Pretty graphic, but obviously you've got the really interesting kind of like scratchy lines on the armor to make it look kind of scraped. But then you've got like the detail like on the front knee pad, and you've got the sort of the brown gunk sort of dripping behind where the knee pad joins the shin, and you've got like this horrible like crusty yellow rust. It's just a very interesting Nurgle model to me because it's actually quite bright, and normally Nurgle are kind of dirty, but this looks almost like bright and clean, but you can see it's dirty as well.
That's why I liked it, because that's the colours I do on my Blight Kings. They've got really bright skin and bright armour.
Because the default is normally like really dark green or black, or like that Incuba darknessy type armor panels. The fact that he's mixed the two, and they don't, because sometimes if it's too bright, they don't feel like they should be part of the same figure. Whereas I think Chris has got done a really good job of making it feel like it's the same, and so it doesn't sort of like ruin the immersion, I guess.
Yeah, and I think the rusting and the verdigris type discoloration on the bronzy areas is really, really good.
Oh, it's gorgeous. The hammer looks amazing. I just like that.
I've literally just zoomed in on that. So
if it wasn't for the silver around the edge, I don't think it'd work. But that's just a lovely, perfect kind of contained snapshot of why I like it so much. My favourite areas on the model, from the front view at least, are the shoulder pad, which has got that orange through to verdigris going on, and then the hammer. And I think the fact that he's gone in there just straight up with what looks like one colour of silver, but he's done it really well. It looks like an old beaten thing from real life, which is awesome, despite the fact that it is actually incredibly bright and highly contrasting.
I mean, it's like you said, following on from what Byron was mentioned with the regards to the metal and the silver, is that what I really like what Chris has done is that the only areas that are silver on the rust are areas that would naturally, like the rust would be knocked off on. So if you look at sort of like the fly on the shoulder pad, there's no silver edging there because that wouldn't see the tarnish, that wouldn't get the rust knocked away from it. Whereas on the hammer, you've got the edges, and on the horn, you've got the edges. And then, you look at the shield, and the shield's almost, there's more metal there showing than rust because that would have taken the damage in the battle. So it's kind of like almost rooted in reality, I guess.
Yeah, I really like it. I think it's a very nice balancing act. Maybe I would have had some of the slime going into the snow.
Yeah, to taint the snow a little bit.
Yeah.
I do quite like the base though.
Yeah, you look at the way the skin and the armor's done. If you actually like zoom in quite a bit, it's actually quite a messy style. Lots of like lines.
Yeah.
Sketchy.
But the colours are all placed, in such a nice way that it blends in quite nicely.
It's almost like if you got like a bit of wire wool and you like brushed it over and that it scratched the model. That's where the highlights, and he's almost painted the highlights like scratches. But I think because it's a metal surface and he wants that sort of scratch look on the metal, it really works. I mean, the skin could be a little bit smoother, but I think it's less scratchy than the metal.
It works for Nurgle as well, though, doesn't it? Because you would have really rough, skin, wouldn't you? You wouldn't probably have really soft, smooth, silky giant belly. You'd have ripped to bits.
I don't know. You should see my
maggoty.
I guess it depends on the style of painting it. Like, I think if he'd have done it really smooth, it might have been a nice contrast to the scratchy armor.
Yeah.
If it was sort of like really bruised and sort of like it was strained and that style. But I think it does fit quite nicely with the with the armor panels. Again, I think me being picky, it would have been nice I would have preferred the skin to be smooth. I think to have it like really like clean and smooth, because then it would contrast nicely with the scratchiness and the texture that he's got on the metal and the armor panels.
I think for me, I would have liked to have seen the wood grain on the back post painted on.
Exact same thing.
Because
he's got texture, armor, skin, cloth everywhere, and then he's got flat wood. It's kind of just missing that trick.
But but I do like the fact that there's a lot more going on this, and I think he's used texture well. Could have been executed better. I do think the base is quite nice, and the fact that you've got the snow and the tufts, where they've got like the snow in amongst the tufts, and the tufts also look varied as well. Like there's been some paintwork done on those.
It looks legit.
So just looking at the back of the model and the shield in particular, I really like the shield. So the orbs, the 3 orbs on the top of the shield are just really nice.
He's good at knowing where to put his highlights and how, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's almost as if he has an artistic day job.
Yeah, it's not like he's a tattoo artist. Oh wait. Yeah, I think it's a really nice paint job, but it's proper gross, isn't it? I really like the sort of the back shoulder pad. I'm looking at the view of the back of the hammer, and it's sort of close up on the back right hand shoulder pad, where you've got the scratches at the top of the pad, and then it's a bit like a tyrannid carapace. It kind of stops, then you've got it like on the exposed bit, the scratch, but the scratch isn't just a line, it's a line gets fatter in the middle towards the highlight and then fades off again. So it shows the technical. It's not, although we say it's messy, it's actually like it's in the right place. Do you know what I mean? Which I think is really clever.
It's painting messy as opposed to being messy, right?
Yeah.
It's
reminds me a bit like John Blanche. You know, when John Blanche has got that kind of like messy style, but it's in the right places, so it looks amazing.
Yeah.
You know,
it's so alien to me, like painting like that, because it's not how I paint. So seeing that done, like,
No.
it is quite nice. It's not my style at all.
You struggle with yourself, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was that we do have another entry we'll show about in the single miniature, but we'll come to that at the end because that won overall. So out the 3, I think we ended up awarding the best one to the Nurgle character.
It was the Nurgle, yeah.
And then what we'll do now is we'll go on to the next category, which will be we will do the units. So
yeah, I'd say as well that we'll put the link to the Facebook album in the description below, so that you can actually, you can obviously watch the video and stuff, which is really good. But you can have if you want to have a look at the high res pictures, the link will be in there, so you can double check it all and see yourself, which is quite cool.
Yeah, so let's start off with Zagreb's Gits. Is that the way I say that right?
Okay.
The Shadespire Warband, painted by G. Just awesome. Just absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Lovely. Just there's where do you start with? I mean, these models have got a kind of gorgeous level of interest, and then G's done an amazing job at picking each one. The guy with the lantern is probably where I just keep going back to, because I love him, but I love all of them.
I just love the fact they're all got different robes, but they all tie together.
Yeah, he's got the same skin, hasn't he? And then he's got such a distinctive style in terms of his kind of like slightly flowy highlights on the basing. Like it's kind of soft and a bit smushy. I don't know how to put that, but you know what I mean. And that really helps pull things together, I think.
Yeah, and I think it's nice that you've got like the red on like the fungus guy at the back who's necking his brew is tied in with the neck guy. He's got it on the mushroom caps, you've got it on the head of the archer, you've got it on the hood of Zagreb with the mushrooms on the base, you've got it on the coals and the hot poker on the herder guy, you've got it, you know, so it's tied throughout. I mean, the only 2 models that don't have it on are the kind of the other archer and the other squig, but they do have it on the eyes. So that red is kind of consistent across the unit, but they're all individual enough to be different. And I'm a real big fan of the kind of the pinky crimson and the purple and white robe. I think is really nice.
Yeah,
I'm just looking at those now. I think, it's that red makes it look like it's the same unit, doesn't it? Like it ties it all in. It's very easy. If you were to like look at this in isolation and be like, you've got purple and pink and brown and white, it would be very easy for it to not look like it's part of the same unit or part of the same thing. Whereas he's done a really good job by keeping all of the colours sort of like in the same sort of spectrum-y look to make it look like it's an overall unit. Because you know, if you were to have like, here's one guy who's purple, here's one guy who's yellow, like the guy at the back with the coals and the smoke, you know, if you had that stood next to the guy at the front with the lantern, I'm looking at the unit, the whole sort of like the whole unit piece, then, if that makes sense, in the album, you would think that it wouldn't seem like they were part of the same unit, but because of the consistency of the red and the skin tone and the basing.
And the blue as well, and the mushroom in his mouth.
Yeah, he's just picked little bits as an excuse to kind of pull back coherency, and the metallics have done the same across the unit as well. Pretty much from what I can tell, or at least a large part of the metallics. So you've got all these little touch points which just help pull this, what could be, I mean, it's a busy unit, but it works, but it just pulls it all together and makes it make sense.
Yeah, I look at it and I think, what would be, like, I mean, if you look at how well the squigs are painted, now I probably would have gone red for the squigs, but I think then the unit would look too red. So he's like almost picked like a neutral colour for the squigs. Because like your average, if you imagine if those squigs were red as well, the same red as like the guy with the ball and chain, or the sort of like the guy with the lantern, whilst they would still fit in the unit, it would probably be too overpowering. So I think the fact that they're muted, it means that the rest of the unit pops.
Yes, I agree. They're not stealing the limelight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just an exceptional paint job, really.
Yeah,
agreed. You can't go wrong with G style.
It just really, really well technically executed across the whole unit as well. That's absolutely amazing.
I mean, the other thing is, right, he picked a good unit. These models are absolutely categorically, characterfully perfect and awesome, and they take that little retro, romantic part that everyone's got going on, but also they're cool and modern, and picking the right thing in the competition makes a lot of sense, right? You don't want to battle with a thing that you've got and trying to pull it up. Why not start with the best starting point? And this is a really, really good decision for what unit to pick to enter in a competition and to paint to a high standard.
Yeah, exactly, Byron. And I think one of the things that G has got going for him, and we'll see more as there's more entries from G, is I feel like out of I wouldn't say, I mean, and there's always something to learn. You could say he's a master, but I feel that there is no one better that I know personally that pushes contrast like G does. His shading is almost black on the red to almost yellow for the highlights. And I think one of the reasons the army and the the unit pops so much is that he really does cover that contrast really well. So the shading's almost black, the highlights almost white, and it's all the way through that. And being able to apply the highlights in the right places so that they don't look jarring because it's gone black to almost white, makes it look really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, on a table as well, right? This is for a tabletop army. On his painting, this is the same when it is for a tabletop army, and it means that from 6 feet away, it's super high contrasted and awesome. And then when you get close, you can just be really impressed by how good he is at placing those highlights.
Yeah. Well, it was no surprise that this won this category. So we'll go on to Ritchie McCally's half guard Berserkers. Are they half guard or are they just fire? I don't know what they're called. Men with
men with beards.
Volkites.
They are Volkite Berserkers.
Hey.
Yeah.
The Fireslayer player knows the names. Cool. So,
mate, Fireslayer player loosely.
That's because I used them mixed order.
So this unit again is like a high-end tabletop standard, but again looks. If you go to the zoomed out unit picture, you can see again immediately the fire of the beards just stands out.
Yeah. I think this one probably, the reasons that we criticised his individual figures, in terms of maybe the base or whatever, and the things that Russ offered a counterpoint to, this really exemplifies that. So you look at these guys, they're on a white background, you're just beards, and it's not that the rest of the models aren't good, but the bit that he's chosen to be the focal point is 100% the focal point. And imagine 30 of these or whatever would look phenomenal, shoulder to shoulder. It's just all these glow, just a basket of glowing embers almost. And it really, in the zoomed out picture, as you said, Russ, I think that shows what he was going for and how effective it would look as an army.
Yeah, I agree, Byron. I think he's done whilst carrying off the sort of the impact of that glowing yellow beard, even sort of down to the subtle details. Now I don't know if Russ can find the image, but if you look at the image of the one Fireslayer where you can see his shield, the front of his shield, he's actually got freehand on the shields. So there was I can remember being really impressed with how he'd applied sort of the this freehand scratching and the dwarf runes on the shields to make them, to add that to it. So even though that you're focused on the yellow glowing beard, it's all of the subtle little bits that make that know that it's all planned. It's not like a mistake. It's all, I think Ritchie like seriously like went, how am I going to make this look good as a unit and as an army? It'll be like the pop of the beards and then all the little bits that make it look sort of like it rewards more in like the more you look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think across an army, it's a striking scheme. But like I say, for a competition, they are like, it's a bit like when Terry was talking about the demonettes that he did. Is that you kind of can get away with a little bit of messiness because people aren't going to get down and look at each individual model, and it's the overall effect of when they're all set up on a table that's more important. And when it's almost like they call it the 2-foot rule, isn't it? Where you stand back and look, and then you sort of you go in and have a look closer, and then you can see the sort of the details, like what Les mentioned, like you can see it there with the shield there. But yeah, I had the picture up when Les was talking about it. But yeah, that's so they're very nice. So they were one of the finalists in the category.
Yeah, I really like them. I think he's not chosen modern metallics. Would be my criticism of it. It looked like maybe there's some like Vallejo old gold there, or there's some other GW ones that don't play as nicely. And I like the colours, but I think the application, it looks like perhaps he's used ones that are a little harder. You know, when you fight a bit with metallics to get them to do what you want to do. The gold looks like perhaps it, if you chosen another one, he would have had an easier time getting it down smoother.
I think it looks dull, and whether that's intentional or not, I don't know, but it could almost be brought up to a more shiny on the edges, like with a silver highlight. But other than that, I think, yeah. I mean, that might be intentional to try not to distract from the beard.
Yeah.
And the last unit, if I can actually get to it, is the unit by Luke Morton, and it's his converted Nighthaunt eels, which I think are absolutely amazing.
Oh, they're phenomenal. I mean, but whoever chose that paint scheme, I'm biased because I chose that paint scheme. Those exact colours, and I tested them out, and like months and months before this, I sat down with Luke and I gave him a dry brushing lesson, and he then went away and like these look like, yeah, they look absolutely amazing. Not to mention the level of character he gets from those conversions, because they're just creepy as hell. It's such a like it's nice to see something that obviously different. Like soul conversions are great, but you know that guy is not meant to go on that model, and he's made it work with both like a super bright orange and then a super bright turquoise, and somehow he's pulled them together. And I do like what the blood on the blades adds as well. I think it's really nice.
I think you've got the orange brown of the robe, and you've got the bluey turquoise. They're kind of like off of orange and blue, but they contrast a lot. But it's even like in amongst the shadow of the robe, there's the purple, which is also tied into the tassels. And then you've got the sort of bronzy colour is almost orangey brown as well. And that contrasts nice with the silver. But even where he's got like on the cow, he's got like on the champion, which is named after Mr. Pike, has got the sort of the black grey to tie it into the silver. So I think these are really nice.
It's I love it. I think, like you said, you could see that he's used purple as a base, or like as a consistent sort of like shade for it all. So like even in the sort of like on the champion, you can see the purple in the sort of like by the fins of the eel, and then you can see that sort of like carried over into the, again, like the orange and stuff. It's a very, very different style of painting than I even can get my head around. You know, I'm very sort of, I guess, sort of like GW traditionalist when it comes to painting. So to see someone do something that is completely out of my sort of like experience, and you know, with regards to dry brushing, and also like just the choices of colours and how he's applied them, I was really impressed when I saw it. You know, it's great conversion, really good colour scheme, and you know, and just the attention to detail, like even the chains coming off the eels that he's obviously drilled through, like with
that's done
the
so well. If you look at the close-ups, like the positioning of them, the length is perfect. All of them are pulled taut. It's really hard to do that stuff. I've got some more time that I've tried to do that with, and I ended up putting a couple in the bin because I just kept on ruining the chains. He's done it really, really well.
Did he paint these with Series D as well?
Yeah, he did. It's all with the same brush. Like literally, he had one brush, and he start to finish that brush until it was a couple of millimeters long.
Yeah.
If people are interested in the colours, I think it's a Xeris purple and Huldra blue base, and then his unifying colour is ice yellow. So whether he's gone through turquoises or through oranges, they end in that kind of final note. And I don't know what the gold is that he's picked, but like you said, Russ, I really like that kind of, that it's a shiny metallic version of the orange that is on the robes. I think it looks beautiful, and the skin's a nice colour too.
Yeah, I think the only thing for me is just the basing. It's just lets it down for me.
He's redone all the baiting.
Yeah, I know he has since, because we had the same conversation. So
the basing's not bad. It's just they're not as good as the model.
Yeah, I think it's because they're so flat, aren't they?
Yeah.
I think it doesn't work. I think, like, you know, I mean, I'm sure Luke doesn't mind me saying this, but like, I think that basin on a different army would look fine, because I think there's quite a lot of interest to it when you look at it as like that slimy, swampy, watery sort of base. I just think that it doesn't complement that model as well as it could. Whereas if you had that with a different army, it probably works. It just
Some warm,
maybe doesn't.
sandy base would have looked really with a deep blue or something.
It'd be nice to have some sort of like three-dimensional things that have a bit of height on them. They could look like they're sort of swimming around, or like a bit of coral or something
wasted
like that.
Space.
Yeah.
You've got all that space between the bottom of the model. You don't have to position any feet or anything. You can literally do whatever you like with a base like that, and you just got to pop a spike in it to, mount the model on itself. There's so much play there.
You could almost have like
space.
reeds coming up and sort of almost like wrapping around the model, couldn't you? Because it's like because it is so clear, like you say, that it seems a shame to have a flat kind of like interesting base, but you don't really look at it because you're drawn to the model, and it doesn't. There's nothing in that space dragging your eye down, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But really good. Really
Still
good.
an amazing army though.
Super powerful, Those robes combined with eels, they just look spooky. I love it. I like how the musician looks like he's turned looking at his commander. I think that's absolutely amazing.
I do like the horn as well. It reminds me of that Anchorman News Team Assemble type moment.
The more I look at that musician, the more it reminds me of like the Nazgul from Lord of the Rings. You can imagine sort of like there's that scene from the Fellowship where he's like sweeping his head back and forth trying to smile the hobbits. Now, I mean, obviously that's due to the sculpting work at GW, but I think Luke's carried it off quite well. It looks great.
It's like because it's a shroud. It's obviously not the model's not intended to be like that because he's converted it, but maybe he's trying to smell what the pike is cooking. I don't know. So that's that unit. Then the last unit is the Warcry Warband of the Cypher Lords by Chris Tomlin. So really nice choice of colours here, where you've got the sort of the nice orange, orange, a nice pinky purple with the freehand on the robes. And you've got that.
Yeah, the freehand's lovely. Really subtle, gems. But nice.
Yeah, I really like the hair where it's like grey and blue as well. I think that's quite an interesting
such a cool
choice.
Idea. Hard too. I don't know where he got the idea, but it just works phenomenally well, doesn't it? Such a level of interest. It's
very, very Chris Tomlin, like the colour choices, as in like the purple or the pinky purple and the blue and the sort of like the blue accents in the hair. I'm a big fan of the way Chris paints. It's very sort of like his highlighting is very sort of like, I'm trying to think of the right word. It's very sort of like sweepy. If you look at it, it's like there's lots of lines to each part of the armor, like we said with like Chris Mills with his Nurgle. If you look at the way that he's applied the highlights on the cloak of the Cypher Lord sort of like leader, I really like the way that Chris has done that, and he carries that off really well across everything that he paints. But yeah, it's just classic Chris Tomlin. Looks really good as a unit. Like, I think I was quite impressed when I saw it on the table because of the pink, the blue, the snow basin, the black rims. It just makes you focus on the models and they really pop.
Yeah, a big fan of these. It's a good colour choice because you've got the like say like the pink, the pinky purple is does stand out, and
especially next to the warm gold.
Yeah, exactly. And then you've got it's almost like purple and yellow, isn't it? The two contrasting colours, but they've pushed the purple's pushed into the red spectrum, and the yellow's kind of pushed a little bit into like the orangey spectrum. So it's I think it's quite nice.
You almost miss because the colour choice is really, really nice. Like Russ said with the warm purples and the yellows, you almost forget that the skin's actually really good as well, because you're drawn to all of the other colours. But when you look at the skin tones, like, it complements the model really nicely.
Yeah, I think it's really good. I think the
freehand. We're all looking at the pictures now.
I think the freehand on the boss is what really like kind of sets it off. Without, in my opinion, could have done with a little bit of freehand on the loincloths of the other models just to like tie that in. But it's still like a really nice unit. It's better than my one that's just grey plastic. So it's better painted. But yeah, it is really nice. I know he's when he painted those, I saw him like tweeting about them. They look really cool. So yeah, that's a really nice unit as well. So that was the unit category, and I think what we'll do is we'll talk about the monsters.
Yeah.
Because we all love monsters, don't we? First off is painted by G's really amazing War Shrine, which is just incredible on many, many different levels. I mean, it's just... Where do you start with it, really? It's
bloody massive.
It's huge. It's converted to be sat on a stone horn, which is again really cool.
Why not?
And then every single area is just executed to the same level. It's not like he's skimped anywhere. And the base
it's all hyper contrasted, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah, it's that painted by Graham Shirley, hyper contrast. Decent colour palette with an interesting base with, he's got the icicles, he's got the skulls kind of buried in the mush, he's got the snow, the rocks, there's a tree branch, all ties in, and he even added some more height to the model like it needed it by putting it on like a bigger rock.
I think it's... Sorry, Byron, I didn't mean to talk over you then.
I was just going to say, like, how Matt's managed to take pictures of this and do all their of its justice in this manner is kind of an achievement in of itself too. Has he got a transfer on the shoulder pad?
It looks like it.
It looks
could be
like
transfer or freehand.
It's done so well.
That's what I was going to say. Is that like it's the little details that I really, really like on the model that you almost miss. So it's like the transfer on the shoulder pad, the fact that he's carried it on the theme that he's got with all of his characters in his Slaves to Darkness army, with the turquoise purple glazing on the horns for the stone horn that he's been doing, which is like I think it was from the Heavy Metal Masterclass book that Joe Tomzleski did with the limited edition Games Day model.
Yeah, it's the Lord of Chaos, and you glow blue on the upward facing section, the downward facing, or vice versa, and then do your final highlights. And it's just such a good idea to use those horns as a place to kind of echo that, to tie things in with his army, because this is an army piece, we have to remember somehow.
yeah, madness, right? It's But I just even like the shrine with the kind of the highlights on the belly of the little demon statue. I think is awesome. And then you've got like I say, the sort of the pad on the stone horn where you've got that ever chosen symbol that was from the sort of the ever chosen tokens. It's on there. It looks amazing. Just
the striations in the muscle on the guys on the top, like you can see he's painted striations on sort of like the chest muscles and like the the bicep and the shoulders. It's just
a little drippy blood drop out the bottom of the head,
Yeah.
A bit of weathering on that cream pad, which I think is really nice. It's a really nice focal point on the model. It's just exceptional, isn't it? I mean, it's crazy levels, and the base is super interesting. I just really like it.
Yeah, it's chosen a good base for the model because it looks like he's about to step down off it. So he's built around the shape and personality of the model and put something that makes sense of that underneath. Lovely.
Yeah, pretty good. Then the next one is we'll talk about Ritchie's Magma Drop.
Yep.
So again, like the fire's just super bright on this.
Yeah.
I mean,
it looks
he
like
almost
he's
finished
about to
an
spit
army,
fire,
didn't
doesn't
he?
he?
Sorry.
He almost finished an army.
Yeah, he planned to have it.
Category.
He planned to have it done for the event because
Yeah.
at FACEHAMMER you can't enter your army models in the painting competition. So the point here was that like he didn't get the Fire Slayers done, but he still had a way to showcase the models. So
Yeah.
I really like its neck. It looks like it's about to
breathe.
Yeah, it looks like it's glowing from the inside, which is he somehow managed to mix like highlighting it like it's lighter in the recesses, but also making those recesses lighter on their little individual sticking out areas. Quite a tricky thing to balance, really, but he's managed it. That like the glowing shoulder bits and the glowing in general is absolutely phenomenal on this model. It does such a good job of showing what the personality of that model should be.
It looks hot, doesn't it? That's the thing.
Yeah.
I just like this small, like the little details, like on the tail where it looks like the spine's engulfed in flames, because it's not actually, he's allowed like the yellow to separate that spine from the rest of the tail.
Yeah.
Just like those sorts of bits I really like. I really like the color palette as well. It looks very superhero-y. Like you can imagine this being like a Marvel superhero color scheme, which is really appealing to me, even though it's weird because like it appeals to me, but it weirds me out because of the green and red, and like it's it just because of the way that I see green and red, just it's weird, but I just really like it. It's doing a really good job.
I think for me, like the Magma Drop itself is so bright and there's a lot of contrast in it. I just wish the contrast was carried through on like the claws and the horn and on like other elements on the model. I think it's the base is kind of interesting as well, but I know that you can see like you can almost see a little bit like super glue ghosting around the feet and stuff, which is a bit of a shame, but which should be easy to fix. Like, so I think if Ritchie comes back in and sort of adds a little bit more to this and does a little bit more work on it, it could be like really, really top level. I think it is really good, but I think there are just some elements that kind of aren't quite as solid as the job he's done on the fire and the green scale. And I think sometimes when you paint a piece, and especially when you're army painting and you just paint it like I'm going to get it done for the army, like because you're not breaking it into sections, sometimes you get like a little bit of burnout, especially on a monster.
Sacrifices, isn't it?
And then you just go, I'll just get the claws done and I'll just put one on highlight on, and like, but if you do it in stages, you might come back and go, oh, actually I'll spend a bit more time bringing them up to like bone on the very tips, because I want you want to carry the effort that's done on the green and the glow through to the other bits of the models. It's almost like the less sexy areas to paint that aren't quite as fun to pour your time into, but you kind of need to carry it through.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I've fallen foul of a fair few times. I think also the you could have we spoke about it with other stuff in the video already, but you could have used a unifying highlight color on the deep blue of the kind of whatever the bit is on top of it, and the green and the red. Let's say that was an ice yellow color or something. Having just looked at Luke stuff, you could have mixed that in 50-50 with your final step on each of those, and I think maybe that would have done something nice to the model. Not like anything too extreme or anything like that, but I think especially the red sections. I'm looking at the side shot with the amazing glowing shoulder piece. You've got that lower leg where it's red. I think if that had just gone one stage further, which obviously is a lot more time to spend on a model he's already an hours on, I think that would have done really nice. And he's put what looks like he's just one stage off, making the most on all those lines that are going on the green scales all over the model, particularly underneath its fiery mohawk fin thing. Whatever
it's almost like one extra highlight on every area to pull it all up. Like even the blue on the throne, you could do with just on the points, just putting like, I don't know if that's like Thunderhawk going up to like rust grey or frostbite or something, just to give you like extreme kind of white points, like white blue,
like right on the
sharp
corners,
points.
like,
So
almost blue horror spots and stuff, like that heavy metal.
You don't want to be
makes
trapped
it
from the
pop.
fire, but the other stuff gets a bit lost, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think if you just did it on
almost
the
lose
extreme
the character,
points,
don't you?
yeah, I think so. But I think it's almost like the light is behaving the same way on the different areas, which I think like just doing an extra level of highlight would, obviously it's a lot of work for a model that size, but
Yeah.
would really push it to the next level. But again, that's
But, I mean,
super solid
it's-
work
it's-
from Ritchie.
yeah, we all really like it, don't we, as well? Like I've always said to Richie, I really like he's picked a theme for that army, and he's carried it out consistently across the units, the champions, and the characters and stuff. So he's done a really good job, and he should be proud of himself because it looks great.
Yeah, I think for me, like the fire glow is just exceptional.
So good.
Yeah.
What's next? Another big boy?
Yeah, and this is Mark Wildman's Archeon, which is a very, very interesting colour scheme. So it's,
I love it.
It's so good. This
Surprise.
like it is just pretty much, it is because it's yellow and black with purple, and then you've got like this whitey turquoisey colour that's sort of put into all the skulls and the wings, and there's all these like mottling. It's just fantastic.
It's been so smart with how to take one area to another in an interesting fashion that is actually fairly forgiving as well. Those little dots are just, they're genius, and they're a key part of the piece, and they probably also saved them a fair bit of time. I love it.
Yeah, this is really good. I mean, I think this is Mark's painting over the years has come on like exceptionally, and like you're just seeing some of his Horus Heresy characters he's been doing, just been absolutely amazing. But like you see here on like the wing, I've got a picture of the zoomed in on the underside of the wing where you've got all the dotting between the yellow and black, and then you've got the dotting of the sort of the greeny, almost like Nighthaunt colour and black.
Yeah.
And it's almost like alternate dot matrix in different sizes to smooth out the transition areas between the two. Even though he's blended those areas anyway, he's just done that dotting to almost like give it a more organic sort of natural look.
Yeah, I think it lets you double down, doesn't it? Because both the dotting looks better because it's over blending, and the blending looks better because it's under dots.
And he's done it even on like the heads, like where he's got the Zinchian head, and he's done it like where it joins the Khorne head and the Nurgle head where it joins the body. This is just like it. I can't even, like, the amount of time this must have taken.
As somebody who's recently painted Archeon, or started painting Archeon, like, you know, I was a good, I must have been 20 hours into my Archeon, and it was nowhere near finished. So to paint it like the way Mark has, you know, not only to paint it that way, but to actually sit down, like, that isn't an accident, that scheme. He would have had to have planned that out. To be able to do that, you know.
He's got a whole army painted in this scheme, which I think it's one at the South Coast before. But I really like the back of the model where you've got like the throne that Archeon sits on, the glow of the skull throne, and you've got like the Archeon's armor's like purpley black, and then you've got the blue of the cape. The colour choice is so many different colours going on, but they all kind of work in harmony, which I think is really, really clever.
The wings also kind of frame you, that like you start black at the edges, and then your eye is drawn like inexorably in towards the big boy, especially from behind. But you've got a model that's framing itself anyway, and then he's used a colour scheme that fades into and frames into the centerpiece as is. So I think it works super cohesively. The basing, I feel, lets it down.
That's what I was going to say. The basing is just too bland for how amazing the thing on top of it is.
It's almost like it doesn't. As I said this to Mark before, that the basing doesn't look like it's painted. Like
There's a lot of natural colours that don't look painted.
But it doesn't have the extreme highlights that the model has. So where you've got like this white on the black highlights, he's got the contrast is pushed so much. But then the brown is, you can see it's painted, but it's almost needs to go up to other levels of tonal variance in the base, because it doesn't look the same as the model. Even the stonework that Archeon's kind of got on this base, you'd think that
and rougher.
That the earth and the rock at the side and the bark and stuff should be the same level of like dark to light as the rest of the model. It doesn't, for me, that it's always the base is always the thing that lets it down for me. But it is incredible. Like,
I love it.
I mean, it is just absolutely amazing, and it's really well executed as well. It's very smooth. I love the gold on the shield. I think that is really nice, and even the way that you've got like the tongue that comes out of the shield is kind of blended down to white, the same black to turquoisey white, and the fire out of sword actually is really well done. It almost looks like it's chipped.
Yeah. The sword's amazing.
So for me, like this is just apps. The more you look at it, there's just so much to like delve into. It really is just exceptional.
It's a little visual journey, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think Mark should be like super proud of that. But please do some work on the base. So,
this won the monster as well, didn't it?
Yes, I believe it did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just because I know how challenging it is to paint that model, and I think that he's been very adventurous with the color scheme. He's been very, very ambitious with the look, and he's pulled it off, I think, which is just fantastic. So one more category to go before we get into the overall winner, and that would be the open. So I'm hoping I can pull up this Boba Fett model.
I think the open category is actually like such a nice thing for it to be included at the event. I know we're sort of like blowing our own trumpet here a little bit, but having an open category which allows you to enter Star Wars Legion models, Infinity models, 40k models, because we're primarily an Age of Sigmar tournament. It is like an Age of Sigmar tournament. Just being able to let people show off the other stuff that they've been working on, because as hobbyists we all play in different systems. You know, like I've got 40k army, like, you know, we all do different things. So it's really nice to be able to get someone the opportunity to display something that they wouldn't necessarily get to show at a normal Age of Sigmar tournament, which is primarily where we're sort of like where we live, if that makes sense.
Or an excuse to just do something different, right? Something like I'm never going to paint a 40k model ever for myself, apart from for an occasion like this. I am very rare that I find the time, especially push myself technically on like whatever it is, a Space Wolves Terminator. I'd love to try that shipping. I'd absolutely love to, but having an opportunity at one of the fantasy events I go to be like, cool, I'm going to turn up with a Rhino. I don't get that otherwise, so I think that's another reason that it's really nice. Someone could have always wanted to try their hand at, and they just don't play 40k and they don't have much to the hobby anyway. This gives you a goal and a reason.
Yeah, and I think the Boba Fett model here from Chris is obviously from his Legion army, so it's not done as a competition piece.
No.
But I think he's done such a good job of the weathering.
It's so good.
I mean, this is quite a small model, and I find the Legion models can be a little bit like rounded on the edges. They don't have those sharp edges that you get with GW stuff. And he's managed to like paint this to a very high level. And I think the chipping and the weathering on like the helmet and the sort of the Mandalorian armor, I think it's done really well. So
I love the flames.
It's really nice. The rod that comes out the backpack, is that the actual rod that the model comes on? Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a shame he's not just put like a little pin in the foot or something instead, just because it kind of obscures the back of the model. You lose.
Yeah, that would look quite cool, wouldn't it? I guess
you lose a bit of that.
Too.
Yeah,
just a little spike that's sort of hidden in the grass, tucked into that bottom foot or something. Just a little brass rod.
You've got foliage there. If that little whatever it is, the patch of basil that's not the thing that's under his feet, you could have a model. You could have something hidden in that quite nicely, couldn't you?
Yeah. I like the
tucked in nicely.
I think I agree with you on that. I think like if you pin the foot with a brass rod like in it, because it's covered by those long trees, you wouldn't see it anyway, and it'd
awesome.
I don't know if the model's got like anything like it's like moulded on the leg or anything to fit around it. I don't know, but it's it's cool. I do like the gun as well. The gun looks properly rusty.
I like the flames as well. Like the more I look at the flames, the more I think they look really cool. Like on the
they add something to it. I think without it, you wouldn't have anything that bright there, would you?
No. It's he's just done a really good job. It looks one of the greatest compliment you can give it is it kind of looks like it's stepped off the set for the Star Wars movies, which is kind of like what he was going for.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, the greens and red are right, aren't they? They look good.
Yeah, Next one, again, is from Mark Wildman. Is this? I don't know what variant of
Librarian
Dreadnought this is,
Dreadnought
but
thing?
It's a contemporary dreadnought.
Contemptor.
It's a contemporary dreadnought. Yeah.
yeah, it's really. I'm trying to find like a decent overall picture, but I don't think I've got one of the front.
There's a
There's one that
Tomlin
reaching
of it.
out,
Yeah,
reaching its hand out. Yeah,
But-
it's lovely.
it's exceptional again from Mark.
Nice. It's got. I like that. It's just got like 3 things going on color-wise, like the red, the gold, the blue, and then you've got a couple of dots of green, which is echoed on the glowing sections of the model, but also the kind of the greeny yellow flower of the base, which is nice and cohesive. But
And the
just,
purity seal as well, which is a weird colour to do
Yeah,
the
it's
wax.
weird. I was just looking at that, a green purity seal, but it works.
Yeah,
And this is a conversion as well. I believe he's got the Sanguinor wings there, and he's definitely got the. I think that's a Grey Knight, Dreadnought power weapon, or it might be a
No,
Blood
it's-
Angel.
No, it's from the Blood Angels
That's it.
Librarian Dreadnought, I
Dreadnought,
believe.
yeah.
But it's normally like in an arm socket. It's
Yeah.
not held like this. But that's cool.
Yeah,
great, lovely. The gold's just beautifully warm, I think, and especially against a red background. Where it looks
Yeah.
like he's used a satin varnish as well, which kind of I like what that adds to it.
Yeah, the knee that's stepping up looks a lot shinier than any other part of the model. I guess the light from the
It's-
light box just hit it right there.
it's probably because the other leg's probably like shadowed by the rest of the body.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna see if I can get that picture up, because the watermark pictures I don't have that one. So, but yeah, it's fine. I think it's looking good. But I think the model itself, he's done what I really like is what he's done on like the chest piece with the non-metallic. It's very rich. It's almost like rich brown, yellow, gold,
Yeah.
and I think he's done that very well. And all the trim, it's always like dark around the rivets and light in the middle, and it's just done a really good job of that. I think it's the red as well is so nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it takes balls to, like, you could do the scroll beige cream, and you could do the blood drop red. I'm talking about his chest piece here, and you could do all these things, or you could do all of it as filigree to a badass level and have it look like that. And I think as a result, you have a very nice, uncomplicated but extremely competent model to look at, because there's not too much going on. So he's really been very disciplined in what is where and how he's done everything.
Yeah, and the
great model.
the base on this is actually pretty good as well, which is
Yeah.
it's,
I like the splashing water effect and stuff. That looks really cool.
obviously this is something Mark has painted since he's done Archeon. I believe he did this later.
Yeah.
So I think he's got some OSL on the sort of the gems on the hand holding the glaive as well, which is quite interesting. So yeah, I think it's a really nicely done. So yeah, that's awesome. So let me get to the next one, which again is kind of a bit crazy. So he's made a display case, which is like a picnic hamper for his Blood Bowl team.
Spoke
So
about Ritchie
he-
picking a theme, but this
he
is taking
wove
it to another
this.
level.
So he actually wove this picnic basket.
Yeah, he did it himself, didn't he?
Yeah, so he got like a nice little display box, and then he wove the stuff around it and stuck it to the outside to make it look like a little wicker picnic basket, which is just crazy levels of dedication to doing a display box.
It's just
Yeah.
so beautiful and perfect and cute.
Yeah, and the paint job is just absolutely exceptional. The sort of the yellow and red. He's really good at painting these rich, warm colours. And the
Yeah.
skin tone, I really like the skin tone on these guys.
Yeah.
It's
It's
nice.
just all those nice browns, rich kind of reds, yellows, rich skin, rich brown, pinky colours, and he's got the contrast in kind of like white stones. And even if you look, I'm showing a picture here now of, you can see the treeman in the background. He's got like striped wood, like painted
Yep,
wood
yeah.
on his knees. But if you actually look at the stones on the ground, this is the kind of crazy level. Like, you can actually see that he's actually done spot highlights on all the stones to get them to the same level as the kind of extreme highlights you get on the faces. I mean, this is nuts. I mean, this is.
I like that he's used static grass, like all of because I'm a tough addict. I prefer using it to static grass. Static grass is difficult, and it looks like he might have even done the thing where you hover something over it to make it point upwards, or you can. There's other ways you can control it with like static stuff, applicators and stuff like that. But just the fact that he's got something going on all over the base that fits these models. They're not part of the base; they've been dropped in, but they're little, perfectly cohesive units. He's got stripes going exactly across one bit to another. It's just the theme and the competency just drive all the way throughout this piece in like to such a ridiculous degree. And it's cute, it's sweet, and that cute and sweetness and the characterfulness in terms of the concept is also carried through to the models with their bright, jolly colours. I mean, they're halflings, they're meant to be jolly anyway. So,
I like the fact he's even got like a little story at the back with his bunting and his wooden knife, a sort of spoon and fork in the picnic basket.
Travelling sausage searchers, I can see.
Yeah, and you can see as well, like you've got the easy. You see this like ribbon coming off the side. That's because that whole bit lifts up, and they actually get stored in there. So it's a carry case as well as a display case.
Of course it is.
Because why not? So just crazy.
Absolutely gorgeous.
And this one open category.
Yeah, not really surprising.
It's hard to like not give this the win.
It's just like even I mean, like the guy with like the colander on his head with the little like lamb in his shorts. I mean, it's
and the squirrel, the guy with the squirrel, like with the acorn ready to throw, like pointing and stuff like that as well. Just crazy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Again, he's picked good models. We're seeing a lot of these Warcry bands or Blood Bowl teams or stuff like that. Tomlin's had their. It's not just 5 of the same dude. It's like 3 of the same dude and a really cool musician looking to the right, and then a champion who's in like basically he's a character model. Choosing the right stuff makes sense. So G's chosen stuff here where he's got little cool characterful people who are like all chubby and soft, and then he's got big hard gnarly trees. So he gets to show off how he can paint this, how he can paint that, and he's got different heights going on and all that type of stuff as well. So choosing the right unit, again, done extremely well.
Yeah, and I think the it's just really good. And then I think we should talk about the best in show. So the best in show, we have this nice trophy, which this is, you can see it's the Grand Artificer Best in Show engraved, and it's this axe. So that's the trophy that unfortunately Painted by G has an entire arsenal. So if there's ever a zombie apocalypse, he, much to I think the chagrin of his missus, that every time he comes to our event he walks away with a new set of weaponry. We've had to even like change up the weapons to make sure he doesn't get a duplicate. So
right, so he's got a shield, he's got an axe, he's got a sword. Get him a shield.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is actually a Kit Ray weapon that we got engraved as the, so you see it's a Kit Ray special edition axe. So that's what we gave away as the paint competition prize for the event. So this is the model that we decided was the overall winner, and that is the Slambo by Painted by G, which is just absolutely incredible. I love the way you've got this sort of very simple armor in the fact that it's just grayscale silver, but you can see purple, you can see turquoise in the armor itself.
Yeah, so it's got this little hints of it suggesting something slightly magical going on somewhere. You don't know what, but you know when you look at it, it's not quite normal. I think it's a good model to choose as well. He's there to just stand there and look badass, frame himself, very symmetrical, and as a result, it's pretty pleasing to look at a model that is that kind of balance.
The only bad thing about this is the pictures don't actually show how good it was.
No, it's
in
very
person,
hard to get a really decent picture of it.
Yeah, in person it was just something else.
Yeah, I think
it was absolutely amazing,
isn't it?
But I love the fact that you've got this you've got this like wide stance with it's a very sort of Hero Quest model, isn't it? That I remember seeing it back in the day, and I love the fact that he's got snow on the boots that tie it into the base, and there's icicles off the base. He's put it on a plinth, you know. It's just really cool.
Got a load of skulls there. Like this tickles for me exactly what the model did, which is like that lovely romantic part of you for when you picked up your first White Dwarf. You get that tick, but you also get super high level glazing, modern paint job, like modern sculpts as well, and then like basing that is really cool. But still, that pile of skulls is like something that again would be from Hero Quest. So it's a really nice characterful balancing out of two completely different things in theory. Even the fact that he's painted the horns properly old school Chaos Warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a very simplistic model. There's not a lot going on it, but he's managed to make it very interesting. I even like the mottling on the axe heads. So you've got like, you can see there's almost like a turquoisey blue in the recess, and then on the top sort of corners it's almost like browny black. So it shows the kind of, it looks like the metal is kind of pitted the way it's been painted. So I really like that. So, but yeah, that was the overall winner. It's quite hard to photo because it's high contrast. It's hard not to make it a little bit washed out.
I think
what Terry was saying.
The shot kind of from above it does a better job of
yes, it does.
how
Yeah,
smooth it is.
I've just put that on actually now. So
zoom out. Well, when you're looking at it in the Facebook album, and you like have it in there, so you've got like the 3 shots of like the legs, the main body, and then the one that's further away, like or like the one that's just above. If you look at it like a little bit away, that's almost quite how good it is. When you zoom in, it kind of loses something. But yeah, it's understandably, like, you know, I think we saw this and we were like, there was no debate. It was like, well, this is the one.
Well, it's winning something. Straight away, that's winning something.
I just love the smoothness and the contrast on it. It just is so rich. It just looks amazing. So they were the finalists and winners from FACEHAMMER 2019. So hopefully you've enjoyed seeing these models and you know, can see the lovely sort of pieces that people at the event got to see. So hopefully with the FACEHAMMER Worldwide, we can get some really nice entries from around the globe that we wouldn't get to see. And obviously taking pictures is quite difficult, but there's plenty of guides out there, so hopefully people can have a go at taking some nice photos and show us their models basically. So
they can ask us for advice as well. Like if you like send us a picture of the model and say like, this isn't doing it justice, do you have any recommendations? We will do our best to help you out.
I'll try and find, there's a very good guide online. I'll try and find that and put it in the notes when we do the notes for this YouTube video. But by all means, like, feel free to comment and let us know if you agree with like the choices that we've made. You know, because Terry was like reeling off the people that won and the people that didn't. You know, do you agree that that Slambo should have won the best in show, or should it have been something else? You know, I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and ultimately we got to decide on the day, but you can disagree with us and tell us what you prefer. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be what is technically the best painted. It could be the thing that you like the look of the most. So by all means, like, you know, give us some comments, let us know what you think. Also, like, let us know if this is the sort of thing that you enjoy. If you like us talking through this and our thought process, please let us know, because it just helps us get better, and that's all we want to do, is get better as a YouTube channel, so that we can provide more sort of content for you guys, really.
Yeah, if you want to see this like an in-depth, like us taking the opportunity to sit back and criticize one of our own armies, even like we can do that. We've got plenty of pictures and we've got our own army, so we can take pictures of them, or even run through and be like, well, I approached like this, my aim was this. It might turn out that the guys say, well, you failed at that, so perhaps that would be interesting.
Yeah, I think as well we need to make sure we can get our armies on show and talk about the armies that finalised at FACEHAMMER GT 2019 and like go through the pictures of those like we've done on this show. So that's planned. We'll be put details of the Discord server up shortly. But like I say, comment below and like if you like what you see. And there's also we're doing some little hobby chat videos that we've been doing individually, putting up. So Byron's done one on Iron Jaws, Les has done one on his Lumineth Psyar colour scheme. We've got I think you've got a Dark Angel one that's in the works to go up.
Yeah. I've got Dark Angel running through how I approach that, and between all four of us, we've got a lot of armies that we've poured a lot of time and attention and love into. So if there's anything that you want to see, like Russ has got a very nice Warriors of Chaos army, Tara's got a very nice Demons army, and Byron's got a very nice sort of mixed order army with loads of turquoise in. So if you would like to see any of those in our thought process as to why we did it and how we approached painting them, like, please let us know. It's anything that we can do to help you guys out there is great, and just tell us if we're doing it right. If we're doing it wrong, let us know as well. Like, it's nice to know when we do something wrong.
Alright, well, I think that's about everything for this video, so thanks very much for watching, and keep an eye on the channel for more updates.
Awesome. Cheers, guys.
Cheers, guys. Bye.
Bye.